Welcome. It is time for a new episode of the Rebel Radio Podcast. And yeah, man, we are here prepping for the great Texas winter of 2024 in just a few days. Our whole 2 or 3 days of winter we'll get. And all in one big swish, and then it's over. It's usually how
pretty
it works.
much.
Then it'll be springtime. The birds will start chirping. But man, it's just like I woke up this morning for work, and I put the news on, and it's just like, man, they play it up so much. It's like trying to sell it to people, like, oh, because of the ice storm we had a couple of years ago. I guess they want to oversell it to people, and I'm just like, it's just a little freeze.
Out. Yeah.
It's not that big a deal. It's like the ice storm we had the other day was once in who knows how long. It was 58 years since the last time Houston had an ice storm like that. So yeah, but we'll get our little bit of winter over, and then we'll be back in our shorts and t-shirts.
Yeah, be back to normal.
That's right. And but it's okay. And I don't know. I just feel like January is such a droll of a month, man. You get through Christmas and the holidays, you enjoy it. Then you get into January, and it's like, other than maybe football playoffs, there's nothing fucking going on. It's just like, there's not even anything at the theaters. It's just like, it sucks. January. Other than people that have birthdays in January, that's cool. Like our teammate Long, his birthday's coming up in about 10, 11 days or so. Yeah. And your wife's birthday. But it's just, other than that, January just sucks, man. If you're born in January, I'm sorry. You're born in a boring you're born in a boring month.
It's a boring month.
You can tell Jackie that. Yeah.
You've got New Year's Eve into New Year's Day, and that's it.
That's it, man. The rest of it's just like, what the fuck ever, man. It's like, let's just, then February's not much better. No, you're wrong. It's like first 2 months of the year, just like, but then in March, things start picking up. You get spring break. You can start getting some movies. Like, I'm super excited. They moved up Godzilla, Kong, the New Empire up 2 weeks to March 29th.
That's going to be nice.
So that's going to be sweet. We have the 22nd, Ghostbusters Frozen Empire. The next week, Godzilla, Kong, the New Empire. So we get some Empire business here 2 weeks in a row in March. So that'll be cool. So a couple of back-to-back franchises looking forward to seeing.
Yeah.
Because right now it's like, there's nothing. My kids even want to go see Aquaman. They're like, we're done with the DCU. We can wait for it on Max. I'm like, oh, okay, so I guess I'll save money until Ghostbusters and Godzilla comes out.
Wow. Yeah, Jackie, she saw Lost Kingdom in theaters just because she likes Jason Momoa. So she went with her and a friend. Yeah, I know, right?
I'm pretty sure he makes most women moist, I'm sure.
Yeah, I'm sure, man. He warms them up. They come right home, baby. But yeah, she didn't say whether it was good or bad. So I guess it was at least
just a movie.
Yeah,
right.
something to see.
Yeah,
but isn't that Jason Statham movie coming out? That John Wick wannabe movie, basically, the beekeeper.
I guess. He plays the same character in every fucking movie.
Yeah.
Even the film, even his Guy Ritchie films, he's the same guy.
Ever since John Wick came out, there are these clones. It's had this die-hard effect on studios where they just want to clone it somehow. You had Nobody come out, and then this Aaron Eckhart movie came out, The Bricklayer, where he's like, I lay bricks. And then Nobody, I'm just nobody, but I'm not. I'm a bricklayer, but I'm not. And then now you've got this Jason Statham movie. It's like, I'm Jason Statham. I'm a beekeeper, but I'm not. I'm actually a highly intelligent, military-trained personnel. Underneath my shaved head is the ability to kill effectively. That's it.
I suppose. Yeah. What happened to Aaron Eckhart, man? He goes from being Harvey and Two-Face to doing like B movies, man. It's weird. It's like he pissed somebody off in Hollywood or something. I don't know. I just think
he did the Thank You for Smoking. Was that before?
That was even way before The Dark Knight, yeah.
Well, yeah, what's he done since then? That's a good
Yeah,
question.
that's what I'm saying. He did I, Frankenstein. It ruined his career.
Oh, yeah, maybe so. That could have been it. Sometimes you can't go after the greats. We had the great Mary Shelley's, Frankenstein with De Niro as Frankenstein's monster, and that was probably the best Frankenstein movie we've got as of recent. The classic. You can argue the classic might be better, the Universal movie.
Wait, did you say I, Frankenstein's the best Frankenstein movie you got lately?
No,
Did you
no.
watch that? I was like,
No. I was saying, it's sometimes it's not good trying to, redo something like, we got Mary Shelley's Frankenstein, and I felt like that's maybe our best recent, Frankenstein movie.
And that was what, 25 years ago, 30 years ago?
Yeah, probably like 25 years ago.
Yeah.
You had De Niro, Robert De Niro was Frankenstein.
Yeah, it's just weird though what sometimes happens to actors that seem like they're the next big thing, and the next thing you know, they're making B movies. Sometimes you know why they did it, like Nicolas Cage had to pay back the IRS, or Wesley Snipes or somebody. But then sometimes you're like, man, why are they doing these things? I mean, John Travolta, man, there's a guy who was biggest comeback ever, man, with Pulp Fiction and all the movies he did in the 90s, and next thing you know, he's B movie central and Capital One commercials where he plays a freaky, weird Santa Claus.
Yeah, a disco Santa.
Yeah,
it's really
what happens, really
man.
Strange. He looks like a child molesting Santa in that commercial. I can't help it.
He does look kind of weird.
It's freaky, man. It's like, no, like Kurt Russell pulled off Santa.
He did
in Christmas Chronicles, but John Travolta's like, nah, dude. The tight outfit looks like he's gonna pop his willy out and say surprise to some weird unsuspecting woman or something.
He's about to pop out of that Santa suit too, man. I don't know if he wore a fat suit under there, if he's just popping out. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know, man. It was weird, but anyway.
You know who he kind of looks like? Kind of looks like Nick Cage in that commercial. Oh,
really?
Yeah.
Right. Did he take his face off?
Yeah, he took his face off.
I want to take his face. Greatest one of the two greatest action movies in the 90s.
Can I get a light?
And Nicolas Cage was in both of them.
Yeah.
Yeah, the way it works.
Yeah, man. Put the bunny down. That's such a great movie, and it's so quotable. I feel like that movie gets quoted at my job once a month at least, where we talk about Buscemi and John Malkovich.
Man, I'm telling you, they ever remake Con Air, I'm riding.
Can't do it, man. There's just no way you can remake Con Air. There's some movies that they just no, you can't clone it. You can't clone stuff. Certain things you've tried. They tried with Total Recall. They tried with Frankenstein. We just talked about that.
Well, that's a little bit different. That's a public domain item, the book. So
yeah,
but studios try their hand in it. But
yeah,
just like I really, I'm glad the talk about Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson remaking Big Trouble in Little China is kind of quieted, because it's just, surely The Rock understands it's just a movie you don't do.
No, and I don't think if they do it, he's not the one to do it.
No, you don't. You just don't do it. If you make a legacy sequel, you bring back Kurt Russell and you introduce his son into it and let Wyatt Russell play him. It's that simple. I learned that from watching Monarch.
Yeah.
Speaking of, man, Monarch, it's down to one episode, which by the time people hear this, the final episode will be out. No word if there's a season 2 yet, but I'm all caught up. I'm through episode 9, so I'm looking forward to the finale tomorrow. Man, it's been a fun ride. People can complain it's a little more monsters and Godzilla in it, but to me, it's just enough. That's not what it's about. It's about the people and the what Monarch is. And I'm telling you, man, it really makes you understand the company that Monarch is a little bit more behind the MonsterVerse movies by watching this. So it delves in their past. And I don't know if you were able to get caught up on any more episodes since last week, but
I was not.
slacker. Yeah, I never. Man, where are you at on Babylon 5?
Shit, I'm still partially through season 3.
Fucking epic failing, man. But have to find me a new podcast co-host. No, I'm just kidding. But
throw him out. He's no good anymore.
Monarch is good shit, man. Apple TV is. I'm not going to keep Apple TV once my 3-month trial is over, but I'll keep it long enough to finish Monarch and maybe I'll watch Scorsese's Killers of the Flower Moon that I think goes on there on the 12th as well. I might watch that, but
that's going to be neat.
But other than
4-hour film, huh?
Well, that's why you watch it at home, and you can watch it in 45-minute increments and take pee-pee breaks and stuff.
Pee-pee break.
Yeah, exactly. So I've watched. I'm all caught up on Monarch, and I've still been on this Godzilla kick lately, man. I watched. What did I watch the other day? I don't think I finished it. I started and watching them in order. I'm still watching them in order still, and I started Son of Godzilla, but I didn't. Oh, I remember I watched the one before that, Ibaraya, the Monster of the Deep, also known as Godzilla versus the Sea Monster.
Mm-hmm.
And that was pretty cool. I actually liked parts of that one. I think I might have mentioned that last week on the show where Godzilla bobs his nose and stuff. I can't remember.
Mm-hmm.
All these things fade together sometimes. But interestingly enough, I have played some games this week. I bought this game on the PlayStation called Trek to Yomi. It's a side-scrolling samurai game. It's all in black and white. It's all atmosphere. It's just a little arcade style game. It's not like a big fancy 9-10 hour game. It takes like 5 hours to play through it. So I'm probably at about the 3-hour mark right now. So I probably don't have a whole lot left to go. But man, I like it a lot, man. It's real simple. You just go through it literally unfolds from screen to screen in different environments. It's like playing a living diorama. And it's a basic story where you're avenging your sensei's death and trying to save the woman you love. But I like it a lot, man. It's a fun game, and if you want cool samurai action, it's definitely inspired by the Kurosawa films and things like that. It's really cool. It was like $8 in the PlayStation Store, and I watched a little trailer, and I was like, I'm gonna check this out. For $8, I'm definitely getting my money's worth.
Yeah,
and it's fun. I highly recommend it if you're into that kind of stuff, old school kind of nostalgic style gaming. And then other than that, on the MetaQuest, I went ahead and I picked up Chapter 1 of Vader Immortal. Dude, this is Star Wars boner, man.
Yeah?
I will just straight up say it.
Is that the game where you get to be Vader?
No, well, you're like your own character.
Oh, okay.
And you fight. I don't know. I haven't got that far into it yet, so I don't know if you fight him or what. Right now, you're on Mustafar. You're in Vader's castle. You're trying to escape or do something because Vader's troops have captured you. Talk about a virtual reality 3D immersive experience. You're climbing up the side of this building, and there's lava and Mustafar below you. It's freaky, man. It feels real.
Weird.
But it literally puts you in the Star Wars universe. It is cool as shit. When you get your lightsaber, dude, that's where it's instant. I'm telling you, instant boner, man. It is nerdgasm. It is like you're swinging a lightsaber around. It feels real. You're like, holy shit, this is badass.
That is cool.
If any Star Wars fan ever gets a chance to play that, it's like, you've got to fucking check that game out, man. It is awesome. There's like 3 chapters. I think I only bought the first chapter because they sent me a $5 off coupon. So I got it for like $5 because each chapter's like $10. I was like,
badass.
Got to try this out. And because I hadn't bought anything on it since I got it. I had just been playing some of the free games and things like that. And I was like, as a Star Wars fan, it's like, that is a must fucking have. I mean, it is just freaking awesome. Other than that, played a couple games. I did watch another One Piece film. What was the name of the one I watched? There's so many of them, it's hard to remember, but it was good. I mean, I can see why One Piece has been going on since 1999. It's highly entertaining. Kids like it. There's enough fan service in it for the kids that have grown up watching, or as adults, girls in bikinis, things like that. But it's not like overly sexual or anything like that.
No,
it's still fun and for kids. But there's stuff for the adult fans to look at too. So if dad's sitting down watching it and oh look, Nami's in a bikini, cool, so it's stuff like that. It was a Strong World. That was the name of the One Piece film.
Strong World.
Yeah, it's good. It was fun. It's a little bit more one of the more bizarre, crazy ones, but it was still because like there's some really bizarre, off the wall characters in these shows and stuff, and but it's pretty cool. I like it. I've been kind of enjoying. I've enjoyed getting into some new fandoms lately. We've talked about it before. There's so much out there, you can't keep track of it all. But sometimes by taking the time to go down a new fandom hole, it revigorates you to get excited about things again. Like I know last year you were kind of watching My Hero Academia, and sometimes it just re-energizes you. It's like, man, it's good to discover something new.
Yeah, it gets you in that mode where you're like, man, I got to keep watching. What's coming out next? And then you're like, oh, I'm gonna watch all these movies associated with it. But yeah, I need to see if there are any new episodes that have hit.
Right, just like
Crunchyroll.
Like I've always been a fan of Godzilla, man, but Godzilla -1 has just really pushed me hardcore into it. I've really enjoyed the last couple months watching a lot of the old Godzilla films, and I'd seen some of them over the years, but not all of them. But I really enjoy going back and watching them and getting more hardcore. And I plan on being a bigger expert than Long by the time I'm done with this fucking process. That's right, Long. I'm challenging you, man. I'm
going to have
expert.
A face-off again.
All right.
Special Godzilla version.
That's
trivia.
It, man. I will take his ass down, man. And I will be there. I'm going to be there. Godzilla Kong opening weekend. He'll probably go to like the Wednesday night show. So I'll wait till Saturday because that's.
Oh yeah.
So he'll beat me on that, but he ain't got kids. He can do that during the week.
Yeah, he can go to the fan service event.
Yeah. Whatever kind of service he's giving at those events, man, it's up to him.
It's true.
But anything you were able to check out this week?
Yeah. I did check out Echo. Came out today. I watched it. I feel like
a couple days ago.
Did it come out a few days ago? I thought
today?
It was the 10th. Oh, it came out yesterday.
Hmm.
Just yesterday it came out. I didn't get to catch it yesterday, but I caught it today. And it definitely makes you more interested in the Echo character. But I feel like some of the fight scenes are a little lackluster. There's some good action there, but there's a fight scene between her and another Marvel character, Marvel superhero in the first episode. And I felt like it could have been better. But I think a lot of people are saying that too, but there's definitely some interest in the character. And I think I've got like 2 more episodes left to finish it up. Because I just kind of binged half of it today. Just woke up and was like, all right, I'm just going to watch this. So we'll see how that ends up. All the episodes, I think all the episodes are released. I don't think it's going to be broken up. Yeah. And then I did mention last week that I was going to go see The Boy and the Heron, and I did. Drove out to the Katy Cinemark and saw it in XD. And it's a pretty nice theater out there, I will say. The only complaint I have about the theater is that I did the whole, have the popcorn and drinks delivered to your seat deal because I was like, it's a little bit of a drive. What if I'm a little late getting out to that area? Didn't want to have to worry about concessions. So I'm like waiting. It's past the time. And so I'm like, I told my son, my oldest, I was like, hey, watch your brother. I'm going to go see what's going on. And they're like, oh, it looks like we may have accidentally double clicked, like made it look like the order was delivered, but it wasn't. And I hadn't originally ordered popcorn. I just got like drinks and I got like a small popcorn for my youngest. And they gave me like 2 big old tubs of popcorn as a sorry. And I was like, all right, it was like friggin', like 20 something dollars worth of popcorn. All right, not bad. And it was good too. But
that's because it was free.
Yeah, it's because it's always better when it's free, right? Yeah.
But the real story is here. I mean, the film, man. I've heard it's good. Don't get me wrong, because Miyazaki always makes good. But I've heard it's I heard it's not real super kid accessible. Like it's a very kind of grown up story.
It is a
Right,
grown-up
like where
story.
Miyazaki always does things that appeal to adults, but even Princess Mononoke has elements that kids can relate to and things like that. I heard this
Howl's
one is
Moving
very,
Castle.
yeah, I've heard this
Yeah.
is very adult heavy.
It is. It is definitely not your Ponyo or My Neighbor Totoro kind of thing where it can appeal to kids a lot. It is very much so. It feels a little bit like Grave of the Fireflies because it has that aspect of being in the war in wartime and dealing with death of a loved one and but it's not as sad, not nearly as sad as Grave of the Fireflies. But it's about saying goodbye and tying up some loose ends and that kind of thing. And it's I didn't realize Dave Bautista was a voice actor that was cast. I heard a voice and I was like, that's Batista. I'm gonna have to look at the credits and just verify. And I was like, yeah, it's Batista. But yeah, the first half of the movie is pretty mature, like ish. My oldest son liked it, but I think 13, teen the young teen can definitely enjoy it. But my 4-year-old, I was very surprised. 3-year-old, sorry, my 3-year-old was surprisingly engaged, and it doesn't really get kid friendly until the last half, where you get to see all these different kid friendly looking characters, and stuff like that. So,
Right.
I will say to your point, yeah, for like half the film, it's not as kid accessible as Miyazaki's other films. But it's good. I don't know if it's better than Howl's. I might like it better than Spirited Away. I would definitely, it's definitely within the top 5 of Miyazaki films for me, even if it is right there at 5. I would probably say, Howl's, Mononoke, Spirited Away, and I guess you have to put Grave of the Fireflies up there, and then maybe this one after all those 4. Just kind of spitballing it, but it's still a good film. There's a lot to choose from as far as like masterpieces from Miyazaki.
I also remember Miyazaki didn't direct Grave of Fireflies. It
True.
is a Studio Ghibli film, but he wasn't a director on it.
That's right. You got me there. But yeah, it's I think it's definitely better than older Ghibli films like Nausicaa, Valley of the Wind, Castle in the Sky. I like it better.
Burn.
Yeah.
But it would be hard for me to put anything about Spirited Away or Princess Mononoke. Those are just absolute masterpieces.
Yeah.
This
one is I would say it feels like a slow burn at first. It feels like you're getting a lot of background and personal experience and setup out of the way in the first half, and it starts building up right there between the second and the third act, and then it's like, okay, it's all we're running at a little more than halfway through the film. So it's like an old Chevy, it takes a little bit to warm up, but once it's there, it's good. Yeah, man, I'd say, top 4 or 5. There's definitely a case that 3 films at least beat it.
Yeah. I'm going to see eventually. I've heard, like most Studio Ghibli films, that Max should have the streaming rights when it comes to digital and stuff. So,
yeah.
But with Japanese films, sometimes it can take 6 months, before that happens. Like there's still no word at all when Godzilla -1 is ever going to come to physical or digital.
They're still trying to release special versions of it. Black and white
version comes out in Japan tomorrow. Yeah, it's first rumor was April. Now they're saying June, but there's real no word when it's going to come. It's going to come eventually.
Eventually.
But you know that happens sometimes, like this, like the film we're talking about today. This movie's based off the super popular anime that came out in 97, 98.
Mm-hmm.
And the director had plans for a film that he wanted to do, like an extra story. And he always viewed the episodes of the show as like 2 or 3 little episodes here as little mini films. So he had put the idea for the film kind of aside until the show became this huge hit. And he started working on this movie. And in fact, the movie got released in Japan the day that the dubbed version of Cowboy Bebop hit television in America. It was the same day the movie came out in Japan. And like a lot of stuff, this took a couple of years before it came out in American theaters, because the movie, I think, was 99 or 2000 in Japan. And it was in 2001 before it even hit American audiences.
Mm-hmm.
But that is Cowboy Bebop the Movie, also known as Knocking on Heaven's Door, which was the title it was given in Japan. But in America, there was controversy over that due to the Bob Dylan song and the copyrights and everything, even though they're not even related. It was pure coincidence.
Yeah.
But they just called it Cowboy Bebop the Movie in America. And if you're not familiar with Cowboy Bebop, it's arguably one of the most popular and greatest anime television series ever made. And so it was natural that a movie would spin off from it. And you might have heard of it in the last couple of years with the failed live action version that came onto Netflix, which I liked, even though it wasn't able to survive. And this is probably one of my favorite anime series of all time. I absolutely love Cowboy Bebop. And the great thing about the movie is, and I read the director was so smart about it, is that he made the film on purpose that it was accessible to people who had never seen the show before, but yet there's enough in it for the people that did follow the show to love what was going on.
Yeah.
Which I think is really great. And because you can watch this film and not have seen the show. And I think you can pick up what's happening. And you can get the idea who the Bebop crew is, that they're a group of bounty hunters and they get along, but yet they don't really always get along. And
Yeah.
and it's crazy how much watching this, how much you can tell Joss Whedon with Serenity was influenced by this. One thing I love about Cowboy Bebop is, before we get into what the movie is just the world it's in. It's a world that I love, and I've said this before on the show. I love science fiction that purely exists without over-explaining it. You get information about what's going on through the background of the characters. Like if you watch Cowboy Bebop, we know the Earth is pretty much inhabitable. A lot of people are living on Mars and other outlying places and things like that, outposts throughout the area. But most of the action does take place within the Mars Earth area, and there's different outposts and things like that throughout the show. Obviously, space travel is available, and there's bounty hunters and trying to keep the world safe and things like that. And Cowboy Bebop's world is what it is, and it's an amazing world, and that's what's so cool about it. In the show and the movie oozes with coolness throughout the use of jazz music and musical themes for each episode. Spike is one of the coolest fucking animated characters ever created. He's just a badass, and just a cool cat. Jet is his conscious, who tries to keep Spike in place, even if Spike doesn't listen to him, which infuriates Jet to no end. Then there's Faye, who sort of tags along with the crew, and they never really get along with her great, but they allow her to be around because they do find her uses because she's resourceful and was able to help them with their bounties. And then there's Ed, who is a little hacker girl who just sort of shows up on ship too, and also again is there for her resourcefulness. And I think Ed is hilarious. One thing I love about the Cowboy Bebop the movie is it's really funny in parts, even though it's a lot of serious business going on. And for you, Matt, this was your first time to ever have seen the animated film?
I want to say I've seen it before, but I can't remember when. It looks really, really familiar.
I mean, it's been around. It used to be more accessible. It would show on late night Adult Swim, the film would.
Yeah.
There was a DVD release that was real accessible. Then it finally had a Blu-ray release in 2011, but the Blu-ray is extremely difficult to find. There has been Blu-ray releases since then, like Region 2 and stuff, which I actually have an imported version because you can't get an American version on Blu-ray anymore.
Yeah.
And it's strange because the TV show is streaming everywhere, but the movie's not. And Tubi strangely had rights to the movie right now, and it's been airing on Tubi, which is really odd because it's not on Crunchyroll or anything like that, where the TV show is everywhere. So maybe with the popularity of the live action show and the comeback of the animated version being everywhere, maybe the movie will become accessible on Crunchyroll soon enough.
Hopefully.
But basically, this film starts out with a terrorist attack, right around Halloween, and by this guy who. Well, I want you to summarize the movie because my brain is kind of farted. This is the first time you watch it.
It's okay. Yeah, so it starts out, we do have that, but before that, we get introduced into a scenario with Jet and Spike, and they're going to go take out a few guys that have taken over a convenience store, and they're going to bring them in, collect a bounty on them.
Basically, a little fun introduction scene.
Yeah. Doesn't really go anywhere, but it does introduce the the relationship that kind of Jet and Spike have. Jet, he's calm and collected. He shoots a guy who has a hostage, and Jet was like, "Oh, come on, man! You could have shot somebody." And he's like, "Well, you didn't tell me, that there was another guy." And he's like, "Well, disinformation is sometimes beneficial to both, allies and adversaries." And so it was pretty funny to watch him try and backpedal. But then we get introduced to the main antagonist, which is Vincent. And we learn that he's been injected with some type of nanotechnology that's supposed to help cells fight infection and battle scarring or battle wounds and stuff of that nature. I took it as a superhero serum of this universe, but it turned him crazy, kind of like Abomination, in the Hulk, the Incredible Hulk that we got. So he's hell bent on releasing this virus and causing people all kinds of pain and death and suffering. And Faye runs into him at the beginning. She's kind of going off on her own, and the movie kind of takes place in the middle of season, the 1998 season, episodes 22 and 23, where the Bebop crew is kind of going in their own directions. So they regroup, and this man's bounty is instantly put on for like $300 million, and which catches their attention. So now they all try and track him down. Spike goes undercover at a pharmaceutical company as a janitor, kind of gets mixed in with the law over there. So the law is chasing him while he's trying to find this Vincent guy. Faye and Ed are trying to find him via the cards he's using. So they find a lead. Eventually they come face to face with this guy, and he is a badass. Spike, goes toe to toe with him, and the same moves that took out the henchman at the beginning, they didn't affect the Vincent as much. And you find that he finds it out the hard way. He gets shot, he dies, and he comes back up, and we're introduced to Vincent's inner struggle at that point. Finding where he belongs, and Faye kind of has the same deal going on. She runs into Vincent, and Vincent saves her, I guess, because she's put together, I guess, kind of nice. And we got a little scene where he like cuts open her brassiere, and I'm just like, whoa, I don't remember this part. I don't remember this being a part of Cowboy Bebop. But he is planning he is planning to basically poison everybody
on Mars.
And it's a race and a pretty badass race. That jet scene is pretty awesome. Watching Spike track down Vincent, it's pretty cool watching that. You could watch that just for that scene. But they end up winning, not the way you'd think. Vincent kind of just lets himself go in the end because he wants to, I think maybe for 1 second he recollects who he really is on the inside after seeing his former partner. And the crew, I think the crew, it's basically given that they go their own way after that at the end. Just like in the series, how it ends.
Kind of, even though there is a couple episodes after this movie takes place between like episodes 22 and 23.
Yeah.
So, yeah. First off, about the action scenes, and that's the first thing the director did was he wanted this to feel like a live action anime. He wanted it to be a little different than the show. The show is quicker, more fast paced action film scenes, and he wanted this to feel. He purposely did that. He tried to use animation angles to make it look like live action, and longer, more epic action scenes than the TV show. And that's why the movie, in a way, has a slightly different feel than the TV show, even down to the music. Instead of really snippy, quick jazz, he used more of a
slow jazz,
jazzy, orchestral, slow jazz in this.
Yeah.
And it was all done with a lot of thought and purpose in mind to separate it from the animated series, but yet still be very familiar. And it works brilliantly. I mean, first off, let's just say this is a really good fucking movie. I mean, it's not just a good anime. It's not just a good cartoon movie. It's a good film with a really good story. And sure, terrorist attack stories have been done before, but there's a lot of deep meaning to this. I mean, for the first time, if you're a fan of the show, that's what there's things in this that as a fan of the show, you get to see. You see Spike scared. Spike is so sure of himself and most of the time, and he has a fear in this that you don't really see before. Same with Faye. She's usually pretty sure of herself, and she has a fear in her. You realize that deep down, Jet does care for Spike because he doesn't want anything to happen to him.
Yeah.
So you get moments like that give this a deeper meaning to make it a really good film. That's about you kind of care about the characters and the crew in this. And then Spike, I think, or not Spike, Vincent is a really interesting villain. It's so easy in an animated film to make a villain kind of cookie cutter, but Vincent, man, has some deep psychological stuff going on. And when he learns that Elektra is still alive and he runs into her, it's like you said, it might maybe checks his conscience. And when he sees Elektra, and maybe that's why he kind of at the end of the film realizes, hey, there's people that are they need to live, and maybe it made Vincent think a little differently. And it's kind of left to the viewer's interpretation as to why Vincent does what he does at the end of the film. But I do think a lot of that stems from him seeing Elektra. It made him think a little bit differently because Elektra was somebody he actually did care about. Because at first, Vincent made it sound like there was no one left in this world that he cared about. But then he sees her and it's like, oh, okay. And it kind of changes things. And that's what I find really, it's an action-packed, fun animated film, but it's also got pretty serious stuff in it too, as far as characters and what's going through their heads. And that's
whenever
why
Spike's
Cowboy
healing
Bebop is so great. Yeah.
And the two native men that are healing him ask him, what he saw when he peeked into the river of death, and he said, "I saw the first time that I was scared."
Yeah,
and that's what he felt. And he gets a little personal, just like Jet does, and you kind of see Jet's desire to keep everybody together. And his caring for Spike. It's got some personal stuff in there as far as like the development of these characters and what they're going through mentally. And then the action is like you said, filmed like a movie. You see different angles of Spike kicking, just like you would see in a cool martial arts film. It's not, filmed like some of these other anime movies, like Ghost in the Shell. Ghost in the Shell is pretty straightforward, or Dragon Ball Z. It's different, and it sets itself aside as probably one of the best action anime movies of that era. Being alongside Akira, Ghost in the Shell, in that '90s conversation.
And it's crazy because this came out. It did have an American theatrical release like in 2002. Between its Japan release and its American release, it only made about $3 million, which is still a lot because back in 2001, 2002, anime in theaters was still pretty niche. Spirited
Yeah.
Away hadn't quite hit yet, because I think it was the next year when it hit, or maybe even 2003 or four. So things were still kind of, and then it had a re-release in like 2012, I think it was, with like a 2-night thing in theaters, and it made like almost another $1 million for those 2 nights. It did really well in
Wow.
its re-release. So it definitely had a following, for sure, and but there's some really other great things into this movie too, like in the TV show, they never have anything to eat despite these bounties they do, and they make money. There's always a
Yeah.
running gag about how they have no food, and this Spike is like, I'm so tired of noodles, it's all we have is noodles. And Jet's like, well, we have different flavored noodles, we have this guy noodle, and that's always been a running gag in the show. Like, they never have food, even though they
Mhm.
and Faye, I think, even says it in the show before, like, well, what happens? We do all these bounties, but then it seems they're always having to repair the ship or something else.
Uh-huh.
So
That's how it always is. Repairs to the ship. She opens up the fridge and she's always like, oh, there's nothing in here.
yeah, um, and just and that's what made Cowboy Bebop work so well as an animated series. It's like it's really good characters, that you get to know through animation, and then extends into this film version of it. And it's such a cool movie, and a really well done film. And the TV show is one of my favorite animes of all time. I mean, if you've never watched Cowboy Bebop, and take the time to sit down on Netflix and watch some episodes, and I think you'll be pleasantly surprised by how good it is and just how well done it is. I do like the fact too that the movie stays away from the bad guy Vicious, because he's the main bad guy of the show. But I'm glad they chose to use a different villain in the movie than use Vicious in this. I think that made it work well. I can't recall if Vicious was dead at this point in the movie or not. If he had died in the TV show or not, I'd have to go back and check. So I could have my facts wrong on that a little bit. But man, I really like Cowboy Bebop's one of my favorite of all times, and I really enjoy the film too. This is probably the third or fourth time maybe I've seen the movie, but I hadn't watched it in quite a while, so it felt like watching it for the first time again this week, because it's one of those I like so much that I don't want to overwatch it. It's such a good animated film.
You don't want to get too complacent with it and stuff like that.
Because it's funny because I can watch Transformers the animated movie and Disney stuff all the time, but I think with really great anime films, they're so far and few between that you really kind of take your time just to enjoy them when you do discover ones that are really good. You know? And so if you watch something like Akira or Ghost in the Shell and you watch it every few years, you appreciate it more, because they are a little bit more adult sometimes, a little more complex. Anime are compared to American animated films. And but Cowboy Bebop, man, just a solid film. Cowboy Bebop the movie, let's be official.
Yeah, the movie.
Since it is different than the animated TV series. And groundbreaking, one of the biggest, highly influential. I mean, even today's audiences are still being influenced by Cowboy Bebop and animes today.
Yeah, I mean, man, I remember this was something everyone would talk about. It's an anime that rivaled the best. I wouldn't say best, but most popular at that time. Because a lot of people have some certain opinions about Dragon Ball Z. Sorry. And
I view it as best is subjective, because especially when it comes to anime, like I prefer something that's 25 to 30 episodes, tells a complete story. It can be really solid, like Neon Genesis Evangelion or Cowboy Bebop. That's why I like both of those a lot, because they tell a short story, have a few movie spinoffs, so you're good. But I also get the appeal of something like One Piece and Dragon Ball that's several hundred episodes. One Piece is 1,000 episodes, and that's cool too. But I think I would prefer something that's a little bit smaller. And that doesn't mean Dragon Ball and Cowboy Bebop or One Piece isn't great too, but I just personally would prefer something that's a little bit shorter.
Yeah. What I liked about Cowboy Bebop is that it was more similar to Yu Yu Hakusho. It was fast action. A lot of the times the conflict or the mission was, concluded in that episode or over the span of 2, maybe 3, versus like, Dragon Ball Z, where a fight may have taken like 10 episodes or more.
Right.
I mean, the fight between Goku and Frieza is 3.5 hours if you watch it from beginning to end. It's the longest fight in anime history.
I'm amazed you haven't watched the live action Yu Yu Hakusho yet.
I know I need to get on it. I really, really liked Yu Yu Hakusho. Maybe tomorrow I'll start it.
Its reviews have been okay, but
Yeah.
I'm just surprised you haven't watched it yet.
I guess that maybe that's why, is because I just haven't seen a whole lot of buzz about it. So I'm like, I don't want to be disappointed, and have something put a sour taste in your mouth that you've had a positive outlook on for most of your life. Like, like if a sucky Arnold movie came out, I was like, I don't know if I want to watch it.
But that has happened.
Yeah, it has happened a lot. And you know what? It'll happen again.
I'm sure. All right. Well, Cowboy Bebop the movie, man, good stuff.
Yeah,
it's that time, man. Next week we are going to bring back our the top 5 once a month. But before we get to the next week in the top 5, let's do January this month in pop culture history.
Yeah. So not a whole lot happens in January.
We said it's the worst fucking month. Man.
Yeah, it really is. But in 1990 of January, Sting joins the Four Horsemen: Ric Flair, Arn Anderson, and Ole Anderson. So mention some wrestling there because it's Long's birthday month, and we got to mention wrestling every once in a while.
Fair enough.
In 2020, not long ago, Once Upon a Time in Hollywood won at the Golden Globes, actually for best comedy / musical, which is weird.
The Golden Globes are weird. They have weird categories.
Yeah.
They just happened.
1917 also won. Yeah. And I think Robert Downey Jr. won Best Supporting Actor for Oppenheimer.
Yeah.
They get some stuff right.
Sometimes, yeah. Well, the Golden Globes is like Hollywood foreign press, I think, vote on those awards. It's I don't know. They're kind of different.
Every once in a while, you find a weird fact. So, I guess in 2023, there's a show on PBS where actors find their roots, and Edward Norton is related to Pocahontas. She is his 12th great grandmother, which I thought that was weird. I'm like, wow, he's related to Pocahontas. I would have never made that connection. Never.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, sure. 12th great grandmother. Like, that's just,
like, weird.
I don't know. That's like, I can't even contemplate that. That's just,
he doesn't look like he has any
Indian. Like most people don't even know their first great grandmother, let alone their 12th.
Oh yeah. Yeah, for sure, man. That's like, I didn't know my second great grandmother. That's for sure. In 2009, Dakota Fanning was labeled a rising star and received that award at the 20th annual Palm Springs International Film Festival. We just mentioned another Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. We also did Coraline this past year, and she's I don't know what she's going to do, what she's done recently, but I feel like she's made some good films, and I felt like I mentioned Dakota.
She's all grown up now.
Yeah, she's not the same person from Push or with Chris Evans or those other films that she was in.
Man, sometimes you remember the most weirdest fucking movies.
Yeah,
she was in She was in Equalizer 3.
Equalizer. Oh yeah, she was. I think I remember seeing her in the trailer. 2016, this month, Star Wars: The Force Awakens breaks the North American box office record, passing the $760.5 million taken by Avatar.
Yep. Still the number 1 movie domestically of all time. And, there's been a lot of talk about Star Wars and whether you like the sequels or not, and get rid of Kathleen Kennedy. And people need to stop that. Whether you like the sequels or not, they made almost $4 billion between the three of them total.
This is
They
true.
made a lot of money. Kathleen Kennedy has done nothing but make Lucasfilm money since Raiders of the Lost Ark back in '81 when she was a producer. She's not going anywhere, people, so she retires and Filoni takes over. And we completely dropped the ball and forgot to mention that Mandalorian Grogu movie is coming.
There we go.
And Ahsoka Season 2. They are official. We should have mentioned those at the beginning of the show, but we just forgot.
Caveat. We got it in here. I will say, man, this year Universal beat out Disney as far as revenue. So it's definitely a black eye a little bit. But unless that keeps happening,
Disney will be back.
Yeah.
Maybe not this year because they only have one Marvel film coming out, but they'll be back.
Yeah. Yeah, it's going to happen. So this month, 1966, Batman starring Adam West, Burt Ward, and Cesar Romero as the Joker debuts on ABC. And of course, we all know how that went.
One of the greatest versions and TV shows of Batman all time. You know, maybe it's not dark and moody, but it's fun and engaging and colorful, and just it gave us all his characters a life on the big screen and made a lot of us Batman fans.
I have a funny story regarding this. I have a certain family member that is a police officer, and he pulled a guy over that had a Joker tattoo, 3 Jokers, back to back to back. Had Heath Ledger, had the recent one. I can't think of his name right now. Singer, 30 Seconds to Mars. Jared Leto, sorry, and of course Jack Nicholson. And so he's like, you got Joker on your arm. He's like, well, yeah. And he's like, well, why don't you have all of them? And he goes, well, what do you mean? Jack Nicholson was the first one. And he's like, no, he wasn't. Cesar Romero was the first one. And he's like, yeah, step out of the car. So I was like, yes. Yeah.
Why the fuck would you put Jared Leto on your arm? Jeez.
He's like, yeah, this doesn't smell right. This guy doesn't know who Cesar Romero is. Better make him walk a line.
That's funny.
So that made me laugh, and I was like, I saw this, I was like, this is a good caveat into that. So bravo, doing us nerds, and pop culture enthusiast due diligence. So 1964, Doctor Strangelove released, directed by the always intriguing Stanley Kubrick, starring Peter Sellers and George C. Scott. Premieres. Very, very odd film.
Not my bag, baby. Not my bag.
Not my bag.
I've never been a big Kubrick fan. Yeah, he's all right.
Got a couple. There's a couple in that bag, but Strangelove I don't think is it for me.
No.
1997. This one's for long too. Final Fantasy VII is released by Square and Sony Computer Entertainment to PlayStation. Sephiroth.
Yep. All-time classic, man. And now the remake is coming. I think the second part of the remake's coming this year.
Yeah.
Or remake / reimagining, I guess you could call it. But man, that blew PlayStation sales through the roof. I mean, in some ways, Final Fantasy VII might be responsible for making PlayStation the system it became. Man. It was such a huge hit for them. And then they followed it up a year later with Metal Gear Solid. I mean, just 2 major hits in a row on PlayStation 1 that really turned things around for that Sony as a video game company.
Yeah, I want to say that is to Sony as Halo is to Xbox, probably. Fair to say.
But I think that is fair, but it's also a little different because at the time Sony was Microsoft was a computer company. They weren't really into video games yet. Where Sony had been into video games for a few years before that. They had Genesis and not Genesis. That was Sega, but they had, they just hadn't they had a system out and they were trying to compete with Nintendo and Sega, but it wasn't really successful.
Yeah.
The Final Fantasy really just put them over the edge with that game. It really just made them very successful. So where Microsoft, when they came out with the Xbox, they introduced Halo as their big launch thing. So it was a little bit different. They weren't trying to save their system. Where Final Fantasy really kind of saved Sony from
That's true.
video game purgatory. In some ways, without Final Fantasy VII, we might not have PlayStation as we have it today. You never know.
Just like Freddy Krueger saved New Line Cinema. So finally, we're talking about animation today. And in 1999, Seth MacFarlane's Family Guy first aired on Fox TV.
And still going.
It's still going, man. And it's still. I don't watch the episodes, but I like the highlight clips that I get to see, and I like all the stuff that they've done. Even reenacting the Leroy Jenkins thing, that was pretty funny. You can always count on Family Guy to entertain you.
It is one of those shows you kind of wonder how it survived this long. You know, like Simpsons, you can kind of get why it survived this long, but Family Guy, you're kind of like, how did this survive this long and King of the Hill didn't? Now, I know they're supposed to be bringing back King of the Hill as a revival, but I'm like, it's just weird, you know. So, I don't know.
You ever call random people and try and talk to them as Hank Hill?
No, man, that's you.
Like, tell me you like propane. Oh, yeah. Propane.
No, man.
I can't wait to see if there's more Hank Hill to come, because he's definitely an interesting character.
Sure.
Yeah.
That's it for pop culture.
That's it, baby.
Good shit, man.
Thanks.
All right. Well, again, next week we're going to bring back we used to do a top 5 every week, and starting next week we're going to do it once a month this year. So next week we'll have our first top 5 of 2024, and we're not going to say what it is yet, but we'll have it. Before we get to next week, though, let's preview next week's film. This is a movie that came out in 2010 and kind of went a bit under the radar. And I remember watching this several years ago. I even own it on Blu-ray, and it's on Netflix right now. And I started kind of watching it again. And I remember like, man, this is really good. I forgot how really solidly well done it is. So I thought it'd be a good idea to do it on the podcast since it's on Netflix right now. And it is called The Man from Nowhere.
너 정체가 뭐냐?
아니 정계 인사도 아니고 락 걸어놓은 민간인 내 평생 처음 본다.
너도 내가 나쁜 사람처럼 보이니?
몰라. 감옥이 잘 어울릴 것 같긴 해요.
찾을 사람 있어. 솜이 어딨냐?
아저씨.
솜이를 찾아도 너희 둘은 죽는다.
Now, Matt, you've never seen this film, so this will be a first-time watch for you, and I think you'll enjoy it. It's essentially a story of a guy. He's a pawn shop owner, and he's this little girl kind of comes and visits him, and her mom is a druggie and has issues, and she gets in some trouble, and the girl gets kidnapped. So he basically goes after the people that kidnapped her, and he unleashes some holy hell on them to get the girl back. And so it's a really solid action revenge film, really well done. And I just randomly started rewatching this week, going, man, I forgot about this film. I even own it, and but it's good stuff, man. It's on Netflix right now, and I think you'll enjoy watching it. and it fits in as a good follow up after doing an anime film to do a foreign language action film. I think they kind of go together.
Yeah.
And so I think it'll be a fun watch next week. Again, it's called The Man from Nowhere, and it's on Netflix right now. And I think if people want to watch along with us, watch a good action film, they'll enjoy it. I mean, this is and this, you talked about John Wick clones and stuff earlier. This came out way before even John Wick. I mean,
Oh, wow.
and it's that kind of same stylized idea of thriller, of that. And it's also got some weird dark humor in it, like in this time when Infernal Affairs came out, which The Departed is based on, there was always some kind of dark humor in some of those Asian action films, and this is no different. Like sometimes the bad guys will say some stuff that's intended to be funny, and The Man from Nowhere is kind of like that. So you're like, oh, do I laugh at this or is this like serious? So it's got some moments like that in it, but it's good stuff. So I'll be next week on the show. Until then, again, yeah, I mean, the word real quick because I know we're running. I think The Mandalorian Grogu is a good idea, but I hope they don't keep that as the title, The Mandalorian and Grogu. It sounds it's a bit wordy, but I think it's a good idea, to move on from going to doing a season 4 to do a movie at this point. It is going to be theatrical. It's not a Disney Plus movie. So,
oh, wow. Yeah,
I think that's
buy
cool.
tickets and go to the movie.
And then Ahsoka season 2, I think we're not surprised that's coming because they left way too much open to not have a season 2 of that. So I think we knew it was coming. But yeah, until next time, the roboradiopodcast.com for all your Robo Radio needs, all the links to all our applications you can find us on. And we thank you as always for listening. This has been Mark.
This has been Matt.
Until next time, remember, as always, just go there and do it.
Just go there and do it.